Hello and welcome to Talking Game as a preview of match day 38. Watford, their potential FA Cup winners against West Ham United, the claret carpet owners. Gonzo, what's your thoughts on the Hornets?
Oh, good. I thought you were going to ask for my thoughts on the carpet. The Hornets have had a fantastic season, mate. I think they've done remarkably well. Obviously, I just knocked on the microphone. They're in the FA Cup final, which is an absolute treat. But I don't want that to sort of overshadow their season, because up until the point where they looked like they perhaps had a realistic chance of a trophy, they were challenging. We're looking at these teams at Wolves, at Everton, at Leicester, and Watford were right amongst them. They petered off a little bit just as the season came to a close. But if they weren't in that FA Cup final, I've no doubt that they'd be up there on the same sort of points as Wolves. And we did a video at the start of the season, Geo, where we asked people for their predictions, and I think as one of the videos, it was who's most likely to get sacked. This geezer was right up there in terms of being the first out the door, so I think he's done remarkably well.
Yeah, I thought Watford were potential outsiders for relegation, in all honesty. I really did. I looked at their team and I just thought, I thought they struggled a little bit last season as well, so I thought that they could be in there. They're certainly the surprise package for me this year, or the most impressive package, whichever way you want to look at it, or both. They've got that hard work ethic. They play a sort of a unique formation, I suppose. I don't think anyone else sort of plays the way Watford do in the Premier League, where they have, a flat back four, two very defensive midfielders, but one of them gets forward a lot. And then they're not afraid to have a go at you either. Whenever you play Watford, or whenever a team plays Watford, I always think you need to score two if you're going to win this game, because Watford are going to score, regardless of who you are. Even their last game against Chelsea, they hit the woodwork a couple of times. I think Kepa made one of the best saves of the season and stuff to keep them out. And that is what you'd consider a nothing game for Watford. They weren't playing for much. They've got a much bigger game next week. But what about next season then for Watford? If you were a Watford fan, I mean, how do you... It all depends as if they win next week or not, obviously, because then Europa League, etc. But if you're a Watford fan looking at this, what do they have to do next year in order to sort of satisfy you?
Well, I think you've got to be realistic, Gio. If you're a Watford fan, you have been doing more yo-yoing than if you were a West Ham fan. You've been up and down. They famously, years ago, had a very, very good team under Graham Taylor, had John Barnes in it and Luther Blissett. And there was a sniff of glory then. But since then, they've been up and down and up and down. And I would like to think that the Watford fans are realistic enough to know that this is as good as it gets, or almost as good as it gets, that they could win the cup. And that's brilliant. I mean, what would we do to win a trophy? Be fantastic, wouldn't it? More of the same next season would be brilliant. It's going to be hard because Wolves are going to spend, Leicester are going to spend. But what I like about Gio is they've got a nice blend. They've got these foreign players who who are really good, but they've got a homegrown sort of spine to it. They've got Ben Foster, Cathcart, who he's Irish, but he's homegrown. He's from the British Isles. They've got Will Hughes, and of course Troy Deeney, the captain. So they've got a strong spine. They're sort of keeping it real, if you like, but with a smattering of flair and foreign excellence amongst them. I think they've just got the blend very, very good, but they're never going to spend enough to go up to that next level, if you like.
No, but if they spend cleverly, and I don't mean they've
got him.
Yeah, nice pun there. If they spend cleverly, then they can maybe, I say, improve next season. It's difficult for them to improve because domestic cup wise, they can't improve. Getting to the final is as good as it gets, if you like. Like we keep banging on about, this is what we want. I'm jealous of them playing in the FA Cup final. I'm not just going to sit here and go, it doesn't bother me. It does bother me. I want to be in Watford's shoes. I'd rather be in Watford's shoes than West Ham's shoes right now, that's for sure. Given your rant about Manchester City a couple of months ago or whatever, are you hoping Watford win the FA Cup?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That'd be lovely, yeah. Because it sets a precedent for people like us, to say, actually, if you can cut your cloth, you can compete, and you can win a trophy. And there's been such remarkable stuff has happened in football this week. There's a lot to be said for glory, and they're excited. The three London clubs and Liverpool are excited because they're on the cusp of glory. And glory is really what it's all about. And I'm a great believer. Wolves may well finish 7th. But if Watford finish 11th and win the cup, Watford have had a better season than Wolves. No doubt about it. It's really what it's all about. And for a lesser club to do it, yeah, certainly I'll be I'll be cheering them on. I might not even tune in, so I don't know if I'll be cheering them on. But I would hope that Watford beat Manchester City. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same with you actually. I will applaud Watford if they win the cup, and a part of me, the underdog in me, if you like, will say good on you and well done as well. And it'll be interesting to see how they get on Europa League because while I think their starting 11 is good, and I think they've got a few good squad players, I don't know if they've got a big enough or slash good enough squad in order to compete Premier League and the Europa League. And I think it'll be a hard juggle. But that's where you go into the transfer window knowing you're in the Europa League. So it's then a case of, well, you know what you've got to go and prepare for, etc. Is he the manager of the season for you? I know the PFA manager of the year has come out and he's not nominated for it, but that's because it takes into account the 38 games in the Premier League only. So I kind of understand that he's sitting ninth in the league. I understand why they've overlooked him. But if it was like an overall season thing, does he get it for you?
It depends what you want from your manager of the season. You could say that Jurgen Klopp is. You could say that Guardiola is. You could even say that Sarri is in many respects, even though the Chelsea fans probably wouldn't agree. You could possibly say that it's Roy Hodgson. You might even think it's Neil Warnock to go almost to keep a team like Cardiff, who spent no money in the Championship, never mind no money in the Premier League. It depends what you want. So I think it's almost what I would call a David Moyes at Everton Manager of the Year award. But that's how I like my Managers of the Year. I like context to be taken into it. Otherwise, the winner who wins the most trophies wins Manager of the Year every season. And that's not necessarily the best manager. What would Pep Guardiola do with this Watford squad, for instance? And we'll never know because Pep Guardiola never managed Watford. But I think he's got to be in the shake-up, mate. He really has. I think it's a phenomenal season. To be safe so early as well. Very, very early. And they must have been safe with 3 months of the season to go or something. I don't know. Someone will probably correct me in the comments and let me know when it is. But to do that and have the glory of the cup run. And also it shows, Geo, that actually it's not a case of, we can't concentrate on the cup because we need to be safe in the Premier League. Actually, you can do both, and for that, he's shown an adventure of spirit. Which, yeah, mate, why not give him the award? You know,
he'd be my manager of the year. I know Klopp and what Pep are doing at the minute is phenomenal. They're going to finish second and third points record tallies in the Premier League history. I think, obviously Nuno's had a good season at Wolves, for example. I think that's your three. Pochettino obviously at Spurs. No players in 2 transfer windows. Champions League final. But I think what Gracia is doing at Watford is fantastic. I think, again, it's because of, like you said, it's context. So for me, going into the season, I thought Watford were potential relegation battlers, if you like, and they've not once been in a relegation battle. And not only that, they're in the FA Cup final at Wembley. I was saying, wow, what a fantastic achievement he's done at that. Because do you know when everybody does their combined 11s, you go play Everton, you do a combined West Ham. Well, we don't do it, but people do, right? West Ham. If you do one with West Ham Watford, I'll tell you what, I bet you would have 7 West Ham players in that 11. You would. I'm not going to ask you to do it, don't worry, but you would, because you look at the team and you think, okay, Decore, yeah, okay, yeah. But after I'm going to ask you your danger players in a minute. And after the first 3 or 4, you'll not necessarily struggle, but you'll think, well, they're okay, but I wouldn't necessarily have them at West Ham. And that's just, to me, that's not necessarily slacking off Watford. That's just praising the job the manager's done in order to get that out of his team. He's done a fantastic one. So last question on Watford, Gonzo. Who's the players you most admire / are looking out for on Sunday afternoon?
Well, it's scratched record time from me because I'll say the same people that I usually say. But just on that, just as a final sort of love in with Watford, let's not forget they lost their best player. They've done all this off the back of losing their best player in the summer. So, that just shows what a good job they've done. I'll go with Decore in the middle, of course. And my favourite, somebody I would have loved West Ham, is obviously Deulofeu, who was just, I think, a wonderful, wonderful player. And I always speak about him, it seems, if it comes up against us. But let's not forget their captain. Let's not forget Deeney. He might be a bit of a pantomime villain, but he is a danger man, and he can cause us problems. I did like Pereira, whatever his name is as well. But he's sort of petered off a little bit towards in the second half of the season. But in the first half of the season, he was as good as anyone, really. They got some really good players, mate.
I really like Troy Deeney. He's one of my favourite non-West Ham players, actually. There's something about him. He's just very real. I find him very real. Like in the semi-final when they won against Wolves and they were interviewing him, he says, "Oh, the atmosphere was brilliant. Both sets of fans, fantastic, unlike yesterday." And he was referring to Brighton Man City's semi-final where the atmosphere was dead. And you thought, how many other players would say that? He's just he gets it. I think there's a football fan in him, and I think it shines through a lot. And when he gives it to the other team and stuff, I quite like that because, if Marko Navic goes and does it to Watford fans, we're all going to sit here and applaud it on Sunday afternoon. Of course we are. So when we get it done to us and stuff, it works both ways. I like Troy Deeney. Holebas is a left back. I've always sort of liked a little bit. He's a player of limited ability. He's a bit of a naughty boy, but I think he's got about 6 assists or something. And to get that from a left back from a side that's not got Andy Robertson ilk, it's good going. So he's a good player as well. And Will Hughes is someone he's not as good as I thought he'd be. I remember watching him at Derby thinking he's got something about him. He's a bit like Jeff Hendrick when I seen him in the Championship. I thought he's gone to Burnley. And they're going to have solid Premier League careers. Just they've not quite reached the height I thought they might have once done. But he's still doing very well. And he's an integral part of how Watford play. Will Hughes. But anyway, let's move on to West Ham. Have you heard the surprising news, Gonzo?
I've heard no news. I know no West Ham news at all, mate.
Samir Nasri is fit.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to, for once, play for his 50 grand a week.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, if he gets picked, he's available for a change. The annoying thing is, when we get to a cup of tea, I was going to say to you about potentially re-signing, blah, blah, but my thing was, until today, as it stands, Nasri has missed more games than Andy Carroll through injury since Nasri signed for West Ham, but only by 1. So Sunday's going to level it up a little bit. So I'm a bit annoyed by that. He's taken away my stick to hit him with. But anyway, would you start Jack Wilshere today? Pellegrini mentioned in his press conference earlier and basically said he is ready to start if I want to start him. Or would you just say, no, don't risk it. Let's just give him a little bit of game time, but focus on August.
No, I won't start Jack, and not for any sinister reasons at all. I really like Jack, and amongst other things, I'd like to discuss Jack on a cup of tea, actually. And I've got nothing but hope, actually, for the future for Wilshere. But no, I think I would obviously expect Declan Rice to come back in. Noble's in such great form, you ain't dropping him, and obviously Lanzini's going to be featuring, you would think, as well. So no, but obviously he would come on as a sub, and I would hope if that creative substitution is made, then I would want it to be Jack Wilshere rather than Samir Nasri to come off the bench.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. You've alluded to Rice and Felipe Anderson back from illness, come back to starting 11 perhaps. How about Robert Snodgrass? He also missed last week due to a ban for telling a doping official to go away in not so polite terms. Would you bring him back in?
I can't. When I was just thinking, just before we started broadcasting, I was trying to think of my team in preparation to do this video, and I couldn't find a place for him in the team, to be honest with you, Joe. But again, nothing against him. Fortunately, for once or twice, should we say, we are in a position where we have some spare players that need to go on the bench. We've got a strong squad.
I think it's basically, 10 picked themselves, to be honest. I think Fabianski, Masuaku, Balbuena, Diop, Fredericks, Noble, Rice, Anderson, Antonio, and Arnautovic all picked themselves. It's just a toss-up. Do you want Lanzini or Snodgrass in there? Do you want to go with a trickier flair player, or do you want to go with the nitty-gritty grafter? Which one would you prefer to have in your team? I mean, do you agree with that, or is there someone else you would drop?
So, sorry, do we want Snodgrass or do we want Lanzini, is what you're saying?
Is that the only question?
Well, that's your only question. I don't know where you were going halfway through the sentence. Well, I'd put Lanzini. I would put Lanzini in. I certainly think Antonio has to play. And Lanzini, I love Lanzini, so he's got to be in there. Anderson, yes, he has to come in. Anderson has to play. I just can't see any space for Snodgrass in there, really. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Sorry, it's a case of Snodgrass or Lanzini. The other 10 all pick themselves now because of the form, etc., etc. But anyway, I would go with Snodgrass for this one actually, and leave Lanzini out just because he's he's not been the same, really, has he, since his injury? He came back from that one game and looked like hadn't been injured at all. And then since then, he's sort of iffed out. And while it's only a top 10 place at stake, it's still quite a decent bit of sort of clutching at straws, if you like, to play for. But top 10, if we do finish in the top 10, is it a good season for West Ham?
And I think, again, you have to go back to the first video. I think I said 11th at the start of the season, so 10th is better than that. But the caveat with that was to take the cup seriously, which we didn't do. So it's been an average season, but it's been nice to be safe so early. I think that has been good. And again, I spoke about context with the choosing of the Manager of the Year award. I think you've got to give it context to us in terms of our injury record. I don't want to talk about refereeing decisions because I just, it doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you're leaving that stuff out. But I think with our injury record, I think 10th in the league is pretty good. The cup is a different matter.
Yeah, I agree as well. If we can get into the top half and finish 10th, I think it's been a good season for Pellegrini. He's changing a lot at once, really. He's come in, he's ripped up all the blueprints and gone, this is it for us. We'll discuss injuries and that in a cup of tea, because I've seen a few people say, given our injuries, and I don't really buy that, because I think Pellegrini is responsible for some of it. And that's not really a cop-out for me. But we'll go into this in greater detail when me and Gonzo have an hour to discuss it rather than 15 minutes. Are you confident for this game then? Last game of the season, Watford have got one eye on the FA Cup and we've got one eye on finishing 10th.
Yeah, with a cherry on top, I'm confident actually, and I'm a big believer in that losing that focus and just playing at 95% when you've got a cup. And I know you always speak about players wanting to cement a place in a cup final team. I know that you always believe that as well, but I just think it's human nature. I think you've seen it with Tottenham actually, and in the last little run in, their eye was so firmly fixed on the Champions League semi-final. I just think it's very, very hard not to, and I think we breathed our sigh of relief very, very early, as I drunkenly mentioned on the review on Saturday. We're now back in the stride. We almost don't want the season to end at West Ham, get into a bit of form. So I think that's enough for us to win. I'm confident, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think when teams have finals and stuff, there's places to play for that motivates teams. But I do think the week before, it's too late now, really. Manager knows his 11 for the FA Cup final, or at least he knows 10 of it, if you like. There might be one position, and I'll be very surprised if 19 minutes against West Ham and what is a dead rubber game at the end of the season is going to persuade the manager to change his tactics and stuff to put you in. So I think it's too late now. But the worst thing for West Ham could be actually that Garcia rests 5 or 6 of his players and says, you know what, I'm not starting Troy Deeney, I'm not starting Delafield because they're starting at Wembley. Cotton Wool on the bench, if you like, and then I'm going to start Andre Gray and Isaac Success up front and say to them, there is one place at Wembley, only one is a starting, who wants it? Then they're going to come at us, both of them, aren't they? So there is that. It'd be interesting to see what from lineup he names, actually, because he doesn't want to risk an injury, especially Kapui is only returning from injury for this one. He missed the last game through injury. Do you want to risk him against West Ham? All it takes is a crunchy tackle from Martin Noble, and suddenly you're missing such a key player for the biggest game in a few years at Wembley for Watford. So I'm confident for this one as well. We've got stuff to gain. Now, while they obviously dropped down a few places, they've got bigger fish to fry here, and that's the FA Cup. They probably couldn't care about this. Just be interesting to see the Watford fans are singing Rocket Man at half-time again. Did you see that clip?
No. But obviously the film is out. Rocket Man.
It was to give it context, it was a promotion for the film, and they had to sing Rocket Man at half-time. And some people, the best singers, won season tickets for next season for free. So they're all, the crowd, they're all standing there with their lyric sheets singing Rocket Man, and it was being recorded for the promotion. So yeah, it'd be interesting. It's a pity they won't be doing that again, because the West Ham fans would enjoy that Saturday. Bad news if you're going on Sunday, by the way. There's no alcohol being sold in the way end. The concourse is deemed too small, so you can't get alcohol. How that works, I don't know. But someone's come to the conclusion that if you don't sell alcohol, the concourse grows. It's interesting, that, isn't it? But anyway, Gonzo, final question of Talk a Good Game, well, preview-wise. of the season. May I have your score prediction, please?
Yeah, the alcohol ban won't help, as Tottenham found out. In fact, it's going to make them lose, and by even more than Tottenham, because I think we're going to win 3-1, and I'd be lucky to get one.
I'm going to go for 2-1 West Ham as well. Gonzo, any final words from yourself as it's the end of the season, etc., etc.?
No, we will leave all our platitudes and stuff about the season for many more videos to come. Look, we've got a whole summer with nothing to talk about, mate, so we'll leave it until then.
Starting on Sunday, and you can join us straight after the game. I'll be here with Gonzo and one other person as we go over West Ham's final game of the season and discuss where we have finished in after the. It's a £6 million game essentially on Sunday. £6 million of prize money. West Ham can drop below Crystal Palace, but we can also leapfrog Watford. We can finish level on points for Leicester, but there's a 9-goal deficit, so I don't think we're finishing ninth unless something amazing happens at both grounds. But anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel around here. Leave your comments below and your thoughts on the upcoming game, and we will see you on the review. Also, myself and Gonzo previewed the other 9 Premier League games that's happening on Sunday. And of course, the title is going to be decided. The video is just here right now, so give that a click and come along and then see what me and Gonzo think and leave your comments there as well. We'll see you very, very soon.